when I read up on twin studies, I discovered that a lot of people, when they have twins, they do generally, there's a lot of incest that takes place, and it's not really a subject that people like to discuss, but there are cases of sisters, like twin sisters, who want to marry the same man and things like this, and even like the different types of twins, even from the same egg, where they can like literally become like male, one female, that kind of thing, and if they're reared apart. So it's kind of always a bit of a worry when they do these studies, where they discover they've got really similar interests and what have you. But it's just like their life could be shaped in the same way. And what's interesting about it is that people, obviously, if they're twins, are a bit closer. So it makes you wonder whether that's why sometimes they do these studies, see whether they kind of, there's something about them that makes them a bit different, like in terms of how they think, and obviously they've got different personalities. Um, the point about these studies is they weren't supposed to cause any harm, and it shouldn't really, even if they shouldn't really be reared apart, should they really? I mean, it makes more sense, I think, for people, even siblings. Like there's cases of incest, like this one case of this girl who got together with her brother, which is really incest, and she called him her boyfriend and things like that, which is really strange, but to us, but I don't know why people do. I mean, kind of, I've got siblings, and ones we've obviously been reared together, all of us. So there's no incestuous loved ones between any of us. We're all quite kind of normal in that respect. But there was, like in my case, it was just kind of they put an idea into my head. I was a little kid. I'm thinking about a school trip that I went to, and I might just have been, really looked a tiny bit. I was really, really pale, and I used to be questioned sometimes, like, oh, where did your mum get you? Why have you got something? My eyes were so kind of bright green or blue or whatever it was at that age, and they're quite Indian looking, like in her dress, and she's literally kind of really worried because it made her feel like she's been either accused of having an affair or that kind of thing. Kind of put ideas in her head as well. So about 5 or 6 went to Bangladesh, and I got a bit of a tan. I then came back, and after that it kind of faded and what have you, and but they kind of got this idea into my head about Sean, really, and it's just sounds silly looking back. We just mess around and say, well, we just get up to what other twins get up to. We just kind of found it really, it's really kind of a bit of a wind up, really, and it sounds like it was some kind of like a fraud thing, because me and him weren't, because we're not obviously twins, but it kind of, because we lived near each other, we were born within a few weeks of each other, and I was kind of a bit premature, so I was in an incubator for a few weeks, and I didn't come home until probably after he was born, actually. There's things like that kind of bothered us a little bit, so that really kind of worried us both. We were like little kids, very kind of growing up with this worry. So it's almost like kind of, you have to kind of understand how twins might actually feel. But in our case, we probably weren't, you know what I mean? It's just kind of, they put that idea in our heads, and, whether we're, you know, but because we knew that we probably weren't, it kind of made us question things a little bit more and start thinking that we should really like each other. And we probably, I mean, I did, because of the fact that, my gene pool is really quite rare. There aren't any, I don't know any other like dark haired with green and whatever, or hazel now. But the thing is, there were a couple of other guys at school who had black hair and kind of Bengali races as well. But I always was a bit suspicious, like whether they were just wearing contact lenses. Mine aren't that bright anymore, they've kind of darkened to just hazel now. But I don't know. I sometimes wish, that I'd kind of done selection, kind of looked for the darker with the green eyes, blue eyes, rather than kind of, just settle for brown eyed. But I mean, I love my kids, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. But it's like kind of, you've got your Somalians who look really similar, and you can't accuse them of being brothers and sisters and stop them getting married. So it just seemed a bit silly as well. But I mean, everyone has their own choice and preferences, and I'm not 100%. Maybe at age 12, when we first kind of had that little whatever, I was probably not that bad. But he was really not that tall at that age. He was a little kid. I was probably finished growing by then, so I reached my kind of adult height by then. Um, Boys kind of go through puberty a bit later, don't they? That's what it was. But by then he grew, and he went for taller women, which is fair enough. Everyone has their taste. I kind of don't really like short men either, really, to be honest with you. Kind of a bit, not really massively tall. And even their dad is about 5'8" or whatever, which is pretty much normal, really, because I do wear a bit of heel. But in saying that, it's still enough to kind of get it into your head. But I think about all this stuff, and I think it's really, really quite sad for people. I mean, in our communities, they still have cousins getting married, and because of this polyandry thing, when the husbands are away, it makes you wonder whether sometimes they have these. They don't tell us about it, that they might kind of have where the brothers are allowed to sleep with their wives while they're away, and it kind of bothers me. Most of them don't ever marry. There's a couple that have married cousins, and it makes you wonder, doesn't it? But it's genetic inbreeding. But if you want kids to look like your own family members, then you have to marry people who look similar, don't you? And if you don't kind of go for people who look similar, then you're going to be breaking your own genetic structure. That's what the problem is. So my kids kind of, they do really look, like Nisha does really look a little bit like my mum, I'd say, a tiny bit. And she's got the dark hair, very pale skin, but she's got brown eyes. They've all got brown eyes, actually, my kids. I mean, I haven't even got that bright, whatever, hazel. They're kind of just, you know, they are quite light in the sun sometimes, but they're kind of just hazel greenish, you know. A lot of it's kind of darkened over the years. But I don't think it's that easy, really, for people to, but they can probably. A lot of people who've got kids with, like, whiter men, their next generation of children might have like blue eyes or whatever, so it's always there. Even if they marry somebody a bit darker, they do eventually come back, don't they? The bluer eyes, one might have it, that kind of thing. So it's kind of fair enough, really. It doesn't matter. But it's kind of a bit of a shame that, you know, you kind of miss kind of what the point of some of it is. It's like kind of communities, you know. I sometimes wonder about, you know, I sometimes wonder whether if I'd done things a bit different, but I think, you know, that's just the way things are, really. There weren't really any, you know, it doesn't matter. There's so many other people in the world. I mean, Europe is full of people with those eye colours, so it's no big deal. You know, I could have done with one with green eyes or something. I would have been quite happy, because it's a bit of a shame for me, I feel. You know, I missed out a little bit.